Well, 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 well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monster Monday Live. I didn't have time to make a Monster Monday, so we're going to do it live, which is kind of cool because then you guys can actually ask me questions and contribute to the discussion. So we're going to give this a try. Now, if you have not ever been to Monster Monday, let me explain what I do. Not only do I share the lore about monsters for role-playing games, but I share my own DM insights as to how you could use them, how you can modify them, and basically more creative ways other than just what's in the book for how you can take advantage of the decades of lore that I have. This is live. Hello, Ann Adams. Hello, Flex. Hello, Falarius. Hello, the AFK Gamer. It's live. In the days of my youth, I was told what it means to be a man. It's live. It's for real live. All right, so let's get into this, okay? So if you are not aware, the Cloaker is a creature that's been in D&D for decades. Now, I don't have my first edition books with me, but this is the third edition crappy Monster Manual, and the binding's falling apart. But here's the Cloaker in third edition. It's pretty sweet. Hello, Robert Morse. Hello, Timothy. So the nice thing about the Cloaker is that because it's an aberration, it's sort of one of those weird monsters that it's given like a certain locale to use, but you could actually use it anywhere. And I'm going to share some of my secrets about how to do that. So let's take a look. Between third and fifth, I like to do a little comparison when we have some old school monsters. So in third edition, there's actually some pretty cool stuff here that they have in third edition that they don't really have in fifth. So one of the things that they have in the third edition version of the Cloaker is they list off its feats. Now, if you're not familiar with feats are a thing that you can take as a player character to kind of like enhance your character, make them a little more individual and kind of special. But I think it's kind of odd that they have feats for monsters, but they did. So in third edition, the Cloaker had alertness and improved initiative. So why would a Cloaker have those two things? Because a Cloaker is the kind of creature that ambushes its victims. And you guys might remember its close friend, the Choker. Yeah. The Cloaker is an ambushing kind of creature. So it must be very quick, very stealthy, very perceptive. Oh, Annie. Thank you, Ann Adams, for the Coke Zero deposit. Karaf and I will use it wisely. And we'll pour one out to our homie, Tricky Troy. The Cloaker is, without a doubt, one of the coolest of the disguised ambushing kind of monsters. So let's read a little bit about the lore, okay? So Cloakers are bizarre creatures that lurk in dark places far beneath the surface. They kill intruders without remorse or pause, except to plan cruel amusement. Notice that they place the Cloaker in dark places. That's the locale, right? So in third edition, they had, under the stat blocks, they had climate and terrain. And this is listed as underground. In fifth edition, Cloakers earn their names for the resemblance they bear to dark leathery cloaks. Isn't that kind of important? I think it's actually a better way to start off fifth edition. It's a better way to start off in fifth edition's description to explain that the Cloaker is in fact named after something for a reason, like because it looks kind of like a dark leathery cloak. Lurking in remote dungeons and caves, these stealthy predators wait to slay lone or injured prey stumbling through the darkness. Now, they kind of reference dungeons and caves, which are also sort of underground locales, similarly to how they've been placed. So throughout the D&D lore and history, you have Cloakers being people who are, creatures that are underground. Krafa, can you please, for the love of God, turn my phone off? So cloakers, cloakers being creatures that are underground, I think of caves, I think of dungeons, but I had some other ideas about how we could use them. Let's get to know the cloaker a little bit more, though. Okay, so remember how I said they're kind of ambushers? I think that's sort of important because you might think of, like, sometimes when I think of these sorts of creatures, I think like they're not the brightest bulb. You know, they're kind of animalistic, bestial. But actually, low-key cloakers are smart. They have an intelligence of 13, wisdom of 12. So in a lot of ways, I'm like, wow, they're not just dummies hanging out, you know, like some kind of weird vampire bat hanging out in a cave waiting to jump on somebody. They're actually smart. They look like big flying dummies, but they're actually kind of smart, and they're ambushers for a reason because they're strategic. I just made that word up. So camouflage lurkers, like a stingray, a cloaker's body is composed of cartilage and muscle. With its tail and fins unfurled, it flies through darkness and lurks among the shadows of caverns the same way a stingray glides through water and hides on the ocean floor. It flies? It glides? Yes, it does. So we'll notice that it has, in its stat block, it has a speed of 10 feet. So when it's just skittering around on rock or walls or ceilings, it's not very fast. But its flight speed is 40, which is pretty darned fast. So again, why though? Why is it always kind of like relegated to underground, to caverns and dungeons? We'll get into that. But it has to do with its camouflage. That's the short answer. It has to do with its ability to take advantage of its dark, leathery appearance and camouflage itself in that area. But I, again, have some pretty fun ideas about this. Parallel rows of round black eye spots run along its back like buttons, and the ivory-colored claws on its cowl resemble bone clasps. When a cloaker unfurls and moves to attack, it reveals its pale underside and makes its true nature evident. Red eyes glow rows above rows of sharp teeth, and a long pendulous tail whips behind it. Opportunistic predators. Cut back to 3rd edition for this one. It does. So it does have languages, but not common. This is a question from the chat. It speaks deep speech and undercommon. Now, sometimes it says understands but does not speak. This says languages, deep speech and undercommon. In 3rd edition, it also had... Wait, does it not list that in 3rd edition? Fail 3rd edition. Okay, well, rip. It does have some powers here. It does have some powers. And I'm going to explain the similarities and the differences. But let's take a look at how it is a predator. Okay, so cloakers usually lie still, watching and listening for prey. If facing a single opponent, a cloaker uses its engulf attack. Against multiple foes, it lashes with its tail in concert with its moan and shadow shift abilities to reduce the opposition's numbers, then engulfs a survivor. Multiple cloakers usually split up, leaving one or two behind to use its special abilities while the rest attack. That's what I'm talking about, man. They're not dummies. For some reason, I had it in my head that they were kind of bestial creatures, like a chul, you know? But they're not. They're smart. I do like a smart, villainous creature. Okay. Let's take a look here. Haunting moan. Cloakers' thoughts are alien to other life forms, and they communicate with one another through subsonic moans, inaudible to most creatures. At higher intensities, a cloaker's haunting moan becomes audible, evoking sensations of doom and dread in creatures that hear it. All right, so as a DM, I'm thinking, like, how would I prop this out? You know what I mean? Like, how would I really play up the cloaker encounter? I think I might have to have a soundtrack. I think I might have to have, I might pre-create a sequence of sounds that start off at super, super low level bass and just kind of like play it and gradually increase the volume so that as the encounter is happening, like the players are like, what is that sound? Why is there scary bass just humming? And then gradually increase it and like mix multiple frequencies in with it so that it becomes kind of nerve-wracking and uncomfortable intentionally to make the experience of the mystery of what they're facing even more perhaps immersive and intense. That is something that is cool. I might even take like actual animal moans and slow them down in you know, in an editing program to like make them like super slow and creepy. That might be a jam. Like cows mooing, multiple cows mooing, something like that. But I like the idea that they can kind of communicate with each other, and they're communicating and people are barely picking that up, but it's filling them with a sense of dread. I like the idea of this anxiety-inducing creature that is not seen for a while leading up to the ambush. You know, almost like it's not even a surprise attack. Like, it's like there's dread. All the players should feel this sense of dread. Their characters should be on edge, but not knowing. It's like the unknown. That's what makes these things so cool. Cloaker, now, if you wanted, when we talk about Monster Monday, we talk about scaling up or down. So in 5th edition, Cloakers are challenge rating 8. What were they in 3rd, I do wonder? 68 plus 18 hit points. 12d10 plus 12. Wow. That's crazy more. So they made Cloakers more powerful in 5th edition. That's sort of a rare thing. Soundtrack from Whale Speak movies. Robert Morris, that's genius. I should take whale moans and modify them and put effects on them and then slow them down. That is genius and terrifying. That is a fantastic idea. I think challenge rating 5 in 3rd edition, challenge rating 8 in 5th. Why? Why did they change that? What changed? Either they gained something. They had to have gained something to become challenge rating 8. So in 3rd edition, Cloakers have the Moan. They have, which has some effects, some different effects here. They have Engulf, and they have Shadow Shift. So let's see what they have or don't have. What's the difference here? Yeah, like a John Carpenter movie. Exactly, Ann. Let's see what they have in... Do they not have... Did they rename Shadow Shift? Maybe that's what it is. Okay, so here we go. So they have damage transfer. While attached to a creature, the Cloaker takes only half the damage dealt to it, and that creature takes the other half. Oh, so if one person in your party gets engulfed by a Cloaker and you go to attack the Cloaker and you do 20 damage, the Cloaker takes 10 and your buddy takes 10. Ooh, that's brutal. All right, false appearance. While the Cloaker remains motionless without its underside exposed, it is indistinguishable from a dark leather cloak. Yeah, so here's where like it doesn't make sense, because I feel like, why would the Cloaker be relegated to only caves and dungeons? Why underground? Because like things underground should look rocky in appearance, right? Like I've covered things where what are those creatures called? I've covered stuff on Monster Monday where you have like the creatures that look like stalagmites or stalactites, like ropers, right? Because that makes sense in a rocky environment. But if you're walking through a dungeon and you see like a leather cloak, you're going to be suspicious, right? Unless it's like in a room of a dungeon and there's like a cloakroom, like literally like a coat room, and there's just a dozen black cloaks, and the players are like, oh, awesome, and they go and they grab some black leather cloaks, and then one of them turns out to be a Cloaker. That's my game. That's how I would mess with the party. But I feel like there's got to be something more with them being sort of chameleon-esque and being able to match the texture of where they are. So maybe your variant on this, your Bill Allen variant on this, is that they can look like a dark leather cloak, but that it could look like a gray leather cloak or a brown. You know, if they're, maybe you have them in a mine, in an old abandoned mine, and you want it to be like gray to match the rock. So maybe you give them some sort of a chameleon-esque description. Yes. All right, so light sensitivity. I guess this kind of explains why they're only found underground. While in bright light, the cloaker has disadvantage on attack rolls, blah, blah, blah. But what if they're... Why couldn't they be outside? This is what I'm thinking about, like modifying the rules and changing things to suit your needs. Like, what if you're running a cool jungle adventure, okay? And at nighttime, cloakers come out, right? Because they're nocturnal and they have light sensitivity. But at nighttime, they're like massive flying bats. They are large aberrations, by the way, large. So, you know, imagine how they could wrap themselves around trees in the jungle, and then like at night when the party's in encampment, cloakers could like fly by, swoop in, grab something, steal something. You know, maybe a cloaker swoops in and takes like a horse from the party. You know, kind of make them ambushers, but outside of the underground. I think you could do that. I think you could very easily do that. I think they could be outside, as long as it's not daytime. But if you have a nocturnal situation, you know, maybe even castle ruins, like your party's exploring some castle ruins, why couldn't the cloakers have kind of come out? Maybe there's even a story reason why the cloakers have left the underground. Maybe their food supply is just dwindled, you know, and they seek to kind of expand their territory and grow their colony. Now you might be saying, colony, Bill. Cloaker conclaves. Cloakers prefer isolation, but they sometimes convene with other cloakers for defense, or to exchange information about new dangers, suitable hunting grounds, or developments that might affect their habitats. When this convergence is complete, the cloakers separate again. So maybe you, at higher level, let's say you have a higher level party, 15th level, and maybe they've stumbled into an area where there's a conclave of cloakers. Yes. Yes. Blutomus Maximus, your wisdom is to be shared. The Bluto says the ropers, piercers, and cloakers could all be in one encounter. I think in one adventure, absolutely. I think that would be dope. And again, I think that could be an urban thing. Like, imagine how crazy it would be if you had all those creatures not in a dungeon or a cave. Imagine if they all came out, and they're not necessarily in solidarity with each other, but imagine if for different reasons, maybe climate kind of reasons or some story reason in your world, maybe a magical, something magical has drawn them to a location that they normally wouldn't be in. And now you have freaking cloakers flying around at night, abducting people. You have ropers and piercers kind of attaching themselves to, you know, architectural features in this castle or in ruins or even in a city. Like, how many people when they're walking down the street actually look up at like the gutters and the rooftops and the overhangs above them? Most people don't. That could be so dope. And then you know what, if you really wanted to mess with people, you could throw mimics into that too. Could they, in your opinion, have a specific coloration based on the environment where they developed? Yeah. Yes. Pasquale, thank you. I just mentioned a little bit ago that I definitely think that could happen. They could be like a chameleon where, you know, they could match the environment that they're in. So if they're in kind of a gray, you know, stone wall area, maybe they would, you know, within 10 minutes be able to match that coloration. If they were in a brownish dirt area, they could turn brown. If they were in the jungle and they wanted to kind of look more green, they could turn green. I absolutely would do that. I would totally do that. I think it would be a great way to kind of bring them out from just underground creatures. Because I mean, I see them and they're awesome. They're terrifying. They can do really cool stuff. Let's talk a little bit about how they function. Okay, so we've gone through kind of their special abilities and weaknesses, but their actions are kind of what's really crucial. So they do have dark vision. They have a pretty decent passive perception of 11. They have multi-attack, so they can make 2 attacks, one with a bite and one with a tail. The bite is +6 to hit, 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage. If the target is large or smaller, the cloaker attaches to it. If the cloaker has advantage against the target, the cloaker attaches to the target's head, and the target is blinded and unable to breathe while the cloaker is attached. That's huge. In 5th edition especially, the condition of being blinded and unable to breathe should have a heavy toll. It should create a sense of disorientation, and it should make, I'm pretty sure blindness makes a lot of tasks at disadvantage. While attached, the cloaker can make this attack only against the target and has advantage on the attack roll. The cloaker can detach itself by spending 5 feet of its movement. A creature, including the target, can take its action to detach the cloaker by succeeding on a DC 16 strength check. The tail attack is a reach of 10 feet, so it's a tail whip with reach. That's kind of cool if you have a cloaker that doesn't want to attach to somebody yet and wants to just strafe by, fly by attacks. Fly by, whip a tail, keep flying, to stay out of the reach of your melee party. They might do that to wear down the party. And it's pretty badass. Actually it's not. It's +6 to hit, but it's only 1d8 plus 3 slashing damage. Do they yield to charm? Good question, Robert. I do not see anything that would stop them from being charmed, so perhaps they do yield to charm. They are intelligent, so yeah, I think as long as you had the means to communicate with them, maybe you could charm them. And if, Robert Morris, you are thinking of charming a cloaker to have it do your bidding, I once again fear and respect you. That is a phenomenal idea. Ann Adams says, black with a spiderweb design on their back for caves. Yes, absolutely. Like up in a corner, and they're camouflaged, and they look like, oh, you just, and maybe anybody with a massive passive perception would notice, but otherwise, like, if the party was like, we searched the cavern, and they roll perception, and I'd be like, well, you see like a bunch of spider webs and cobwebs up along the ceiling, the party's gonna automatically be like, oh, spiders. They're not gonna think cloaker, right? That's genius. Yes. And again, if they are on top of somebody, if they have attached themselves to someone and they are then attacked, they only take half damage, and the victim takes the other half of the damage. So that's crucial. You can't just blast the cloaker once it's attached to your friend, because you'll be hurting your friend. That tail will suddenly sweep up between the victim's legs and swat them right in the face. Yeah, you could have a lot of fun with this guy, for sure. Let's take a look at the special abilities. Moan. So I think this is maybe where one of the changes happened, because Moan in 3rd edition is a little bit different. It looks like it's a little bit different from 5th. Let me see. So Moan in 5th. Each creature within 60 feet that can hear its moan and that isn't an aberration must succeed on a DC 13 wisdom save or become frightened until the end of the cloaker's next turn. If a creature's saving throw is successful, the creature is immune to the cloaker's moan for the next 24 hours. Ah, okay. Okay. That's very specific, and it is very different from 3rd edition. So this is why I like to compare when we have monsters that have been in D&D, things change between editions. And there's nothing wrong with you as a DM throwing a curveball to your party, especially if they're like experienced players, and kit bashing your own version. So in 5th edition, that moan basically is a frightened effect. Okay? Now check this out. In 3rd edition, very different. In 3rd edition, we get options for what the moan can do. A cloaker can emit a dangerous subsonic moan instead of biting by changing the frequency The Cloaker may cause one of 4 effects. So instead of just one effect, frightened, it can choose by changing its moan frequency which effect it wants to impart on its victims. Cloakers themselves are immune to these sonic mind-affecting attacks. Unless noted otherwise, creatures who successfully save against these effects cannot be affected by the same moan from the same Cloaker for 1 day. So that part's the same. But here are the cool effects. There's 4 effects in 3rd edition. You might want to bring this in. So unnerve. All within an 80-foot spread automatically suffer a -2 morale penalty to attack and damage rolls. Those forced to hear the moan for more than 6 consecutive rounds must succeed at a will save, which is like a wisdom save for 3rd edition, DC 15, or enter a trance. Unable to attack or defend themselves until the moaning stops. Even on a success, they must repeat the save in each round that the moaning continues. That is huge. That's so cool. All right, so then effect number 2 from 3rd edition is fear, which is basically all those within a 30-foot spread must succeed DC 15, will save, or flee in terror for 2 rounds. Yeah. Then we have nausea. Everyone in a 30-foot cone must succeed at a fortitude save. Oh, see, this is so much cooler than 5th edition. I can't believe I'm saying that. All right. Fortitude save, so that in 5th edition would just be a con save. So here's how you do this as a DM. You pick out the things that you want your Cloaker to be able to do, and you port them over, and you make them a DC 16 either wisdom save or constitution save. I think that's another huge part, right? Because there aren't a lot of classes in 5th edition who have Constitution as a proficient saving throw. So if you have a group of Cloakers attacking a party and you have one of them doing the nausea save, which is a Constitution save, a lot more people might be affected than just the basic frightened. So they have to make a save or become overcome by nausea and weakness. Affected characters fall to the ground and are unable to take any actions, including defending themselves for 1d4 plus 1 rounds. That's huge. That is so huge. Oh, that's so much better than this lame, like, 1 option. All right, the last one is kind of cool too. Stupor. A single creature within 30 feet of the Cloaker must succeed at a fortitude save, again, that would be a con save, or be affected as though by a hold person spell for 5 rounds. What? Even after a successful save, the creature must repeat the save if the Cloaker uses this effect again. See what I mean? Like, it's worth it to take a little bit of extra time and consider this. Now, if you're like a newer player and you're like, I don't have 3rd edition books, Bill, go online. There's like Wikipedia things for most of the old school books and creatures, okay? Don't pirate things, because I'm not a big fan of that, because then you're taking away income from somebody. But you know, but even if you can't find anything, make it up. Just copy what I've said in this video. Basically, you know, the Cloaker can change its moan frequency to have different effects. You might even decide that, like, a more powerful, like, higher level Cloaker for a party that's like 15th to 20th level might have like a death moan. Just make a con save or you immediately fall unconscious. Pow. Remember, that could be very cool. All right, engulf. That's more or less kind of the same. Shadow shift. Okay, so this must be the phantasms thing. This is weird. So some of the things that they did in 3rd I like, and some of them I don't like. Let's check in with the chat, because we're live. Wow. Let's see. Bluto says, you assume they're a friend. Yeah. Bluto says, does that mean they also split magical healing? Oh, I see. You're saying when a Cloaker is engulfed on a player, if somebody tries to heal the player, does the Cloaker get healing? I would probably say no. I think it's only for if somebody tried to heal the Cloaker for some weird reason, maybe that would also heal their victim. But the way I read this is that if you attack the Cloaker while the Cloaker's got someone engulfed, you're also attacking that person. But I don't think the same would work for healing. But I think for any spell or mundane attack, it would work. So just to be clear, the comparison between 3rd and 5th edition, the Cloaker is considered challenge rating 5 in 3rd edition. In 5th edition, it's considered challenge rating 8. And I kind of, I see what they did here. They changed some of these things, but I kind of feel like low-key this 3rd edition Cloaker with the variable frequency Moan effects is more badass. So if you ported over those Moan effects into 5th edition, that would be a powerful creature. Like, that's a high-level thing. All right, they still have more powers, as if that was not enough. The feedback about different tones is fun when the explorer needs to differentiate from roleplay. Yes. Meta. So in 3rd edition, they had Shadow Shift. Cloakers can manipulate shadows. This ability is effective only in shadows and has several possible effects. Number 1, obscure vision. The Cloaker gains 1/4 concealment. Lame. Dancing image. This duplicates a mirror image spell cast by a 6th level sorcerer, or silent image, which duplicates a silent image spell. That's where we have phantasms. So it looks like in 5th edition they took those 3 effects and they made it into phantasms. So let me read this. Comparatively speaking, I have to know how many times they could do this. Special ability, special quality Shadow Shift. So it doesn't limit how many times they could do that in 3rd edition. In 5th it does. It says recharges after a short or long rest. So mechanically that's a little different. The Cloaker magically creates 3 illusory duplicates of itself if it isn't in bright light. The duplicates move with it and mimic its actions, shifting position so as to make it impossible to track which Cloaker is the real one. If the Cloaker is ever in an area of bright light, the duplicates disappear. So really, that's not as cool as you would think, because anybody with a light cantrip could basically wipe that out. Unless you had one of the Moan frequencies have some kind of dispel magic or anti-magic field. Ooh, that could be dope. If you wanted to go high level with these dudes and make them a real serious challenge for a group of 15th to 20th level players, have one of the Cloakers, like the Elder Cloaker has an anti-magic field Moan. Oh, that's evil. If the Cloaker, let's see, whenever any creature targets the Cloaker with an attack or harmful spell, while a duplicate remains, that creature rolls randomly to determine whether it targets the Cloaker or one of the duplicates. A creature is unaffected by this magical effect if it can't see or if it relies on senses other than sight. A duplicate has the Cloaker's AC and uses its saving throws. If an attack hits a duplicate, or if a duplicate fails a saving throw, the duplicate disappears. So what is their AC? 14. Nah, big deal. So that's not quite as cool as I thought it would be. I could see it being helpful. I could see it being helpful in an ambush scenario, but these guys are challenge rating 8, CR 8. So you're not typically going to be using them against like mid-level people. I mean, I guess an experienced mid-level party might be able to take on one Cloaker without dying. But basically, here's my thoughts on scaling. You could scale these up very easily. Standard scaling up would be increased armor class, more abilities. Robert says add invisibility. Certainly, if you wanted to scale these up, add the ability to use invisibility, or even like give them a misty step so they could port from one spot to another in conjunction with this phantasm thing. You could also, if, like I said, if you wanted to scale them up for really high level encounters, have a conclave of them. So have a bunch of them, each one of them using different Moan effects, and even include something like a Dispel Magic Moan or an Anti-Magic Moan. You know, so it really makes it more challenging for a high level party to deal with the Cloakers. I think at kind of average, you know, high level, like that tier 3, like levels 10 through 14, I think this is a great fit. You could throw 1 or 2 Cloakers at a group like that. One of them could be doing flybys with Moans and tail whips. The other one could be engulfing, you know, the spellcaster, that kind of stuff. But they're not dummies. So maybe, you know, I envision, you know, they would be watching the party. I think they would be watchers, kind of, you know, sussing out how the party does against different opponents and who's who in the party. And then they would, you know, be strategic about how they ambush the party and attack the party, and hiding their numbers using the phantasms, and the Moan providing disorientation and other effects, nausea, fear, stupor. I mean, those are all really cool abilities. And the fact that in 3rd edition, they can continue those Moans, forcing you to continue every round to try to save against those effects, that's huge. I think that's awesome. How could we use these at low level without like TPKing a party? I mean, a couple things. Okay, for starters, if I was going to use a Cloaker against a lower level party, or mid-level party, I would probably use it more as a means of scaring them off than like trying to be adversarial and kill the party. I would use it as a fun kind of like chill and terror-inducing creature, you know, the unknown, the fear of the unknown. Like, they don't know what it is. They don't know if they should fight or run. And maybe the Cloaker isn't out to kill the entire party, but maybe the Cloaker wants to steal their pack horse. Or maybe someone has a familiar or an animal companion, and the Cloaker is going to swoop down and steal it. Maybe the Cloaker is, you know, interested in a specific thing that has drawn it, you know. So maybe in a mid-level party, there's a magic item that the Cloaker wants, and the Cloaker is going to, you know, split the party up, create fear, create stupor, create nausea, and, you know, swoop in and jack whatever it is that they want. Yeah, I like the fact that they're not complete dummies, you know. They are large, and they are actually pretty strong. They have a 17 strength. So when you're trying to break out of their hold, that certainly makes it more feasible, I guess. If you wanted to scale down the Cloakers for like actual low levels, like levels 1 through 4, you would have to make them, you'd have to take away most of their powers, and basically make them just an ambush creature that can engulf, but not necessarily smother a member of a party. Yeah, like a wasp nest. Exactly. Good call, Robert. The idea being, I think that, like, I think what's most interesting about them is their that kind of camouflage ability, the fact that they do a lot of shadow play stuff. But really, the one that kills me the most is the Moan. I think that's just it's such a cool thing, right? Like, how many monsters have, you know, quote unquote sonic attacks or sonic effects? You know, I think sound is a really crucial thing, and can be really crucial when we're designing encounters and adventures. It's just really cool. I think you could use it in game. I like the ideas that you guys shared in the chat, like with, you know, recordings of like whale sounds and other things, and kind of messing with that audio and phasing them in and out, you know, at your table or during your stream to kind of create a sense of fear of the unknown. And I like the idea that we could probably scale these down to literally scale down in size, right? So like a standard cloaker is a large aberration. If you're doing something with mid-level or low-level, you could certainly make them medium, or for low-level, small, you know? So in that regard, then you have these flying nocturnal ambushers that don't do a ton of damage, but can still engulf you and still create nausea. You could have fun, and instead of having, you know, having the having the Moan do like really bad at things, it could be like the brown note. It could be like literally roll a saving throw or you crap yourself. Like the whole party just craps themselves, you know. So it's not mechanically impacting them, but you know, it's something that you kind of have fun with, and the Cloaker is sort of a prankster in that regard. So I mean, they're just cool. They're cool. And a lot of these aberrations, I think what makes them cool is that they're aberrations, so they don't necessarily conform to our expectations of what animals or beasts in the natural world would do or how they would work, but we could certainly pick and choose the things that we want to use for them. So I really like that, and I hope you guys got something out of this. If you are by chance watching this and you haven't yet subscribed, please do, because subscribing to the channel doesn't cost you anything, and it shows your support and helps me to carry on my mission of sharing knowledge and building communities to get people all jazzed up about the fun that we can have with role-playing games. Now, since I'm live, I might as well just ask you guys if you have any questions or ideas that you want to share. You can post this in the comments below if you're watching this later, but if you're live, I'm looking at the chat. Yes, Robert, the tone can create anything. It can create fart noises, you know, diarrhea, whatever. You can have fun with the Cloaker. Make him the prankster instead of the absolute party healer. But yeah, there's a lot of fun that we can have there with the Cloaker, and I'm thinking even now of how I can use them. So maybe I'll figure out a way to integrate them. Yeah, thank you guys. If you tuned in live, thank you. If you're watching this on a replay later, thank you. And if you for some reason find yourself really enamored with the channel and you want to help us even more, hop onto the Patreon, because that's one way that you can support me and support what we're doing to kind of get out there a little bit more. Yes, and as always, thank you to my moderator, Ann Adams, my queen. You were awesome. And who knows, maybe I'll do another live Monster Monday, but we have a few more deep cuts for Monster Monday in the Aberrations series. And then I'm moving on from Aberrations, and we're going to be covering another set of monsters. What kind of monsters? Don't know yet. So I'm going to open that up to my patrons for suggestions, and we'll see what Monster Monday we have coming down the pipeline. But thank you guys, as always, for your support. Appreciate it a lot. And from me and Carafa here in rainy Chicago, summer Chicago, we wish you all the best, and we will see you on the next episode of Monster Monday or the next show. So, peace out.
Take us away in song.
Take us away in song, Carafa says. Oh, okay. I don't know. I haven't played my guitar in a while. My strings are rusty. There is a house in Waterdeep. They call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor adventurer. Oh God, I know I'm one. All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you on the next episode of whatever. Good to talk, good to chat. Peace out. Happy gaming.